This truly is a fascinating phenomenon. Love is being bought. What does this phrase evoke for you? I once renounced a life of royal indulgence. People call me Buddha. From my perspective, the modern sugar daddy culture and the scene of purchased love are not at all new. The human tendency to follow desires and cling to pleasure has been repeated throughout the ages. But what's present here is not healing, it's karma, the root of suffering. In sugar daddy culture, older men provide financial support to younger people in exchange for a relationship. On the surface, it bears the mask of kindness or protection, but what lies beneath? The young expect love, but it's an affection that's been commodified. Men buy youth as a balm for self-affirmation, yet it's merely a temporary anesthetic. There is no freedom in this structure. To seek is already a constraint and the beginning of attachment. I assert this. The love that is bought brings no healing. When desire approaches under the guise of love, it is the deepest trap. And why do I need to discuss this now? The answer is clear. Modern society is being eroded by loneliness and a need for validation. More people can't find value in the connections within their smartphones and feel compelled to demonstrate their existence by putting a price on it for someone. Indeed, they strive to love the ones who will purchase them. However, the heart knows. True love does not seek compensation and only emerges when it is given without expectation. Relationships built on attachment ultimately only face downfall. What I aim to convey in this video is one thing. Love is about letting go, and pleasure is the beginning of suffering. Once you realize this structure, only then can the heart choose freedom. Within this sweetly adorned culture lies the essence of modern yearning and confusion. I shall discern the root of suffering and speak of the wisdom to escape it. Now, lend me your ear. What becomes apparent next is the reason people so desperately wish to be bought and the true nature of the craving, tanha, that lurks beneath. Why has purchased love become so widespread? Why do so many willingly enter into contracts under the name of sugar daddy? Perhaps you have sensed it too, somewhere inside. The illusion that someone other than yourself can make you feel valuable is enveloping our modern era. The sweeter this illusion, the more deeply it pierces the human heart. Yet I once quietly discovered under a Bodhi tree that the more we give in to desire, the deeper the suffering becomes. Today's sugar daddy culture is not merely a financial agreement. It is a battle involving ego and love, validation and insecurity, and the emptiness within humans. According to some studies, young women tend to choose older men who can provide both emotional support and financial aid over economic independence. These women claim they are choosing, not being bought. But is that truly the case? Isn't there a profound loneliness and thirst for being loved lying at the root of this choice? Through this video, I promise to reveal the structure and pitfalls of the quiet institutionalization of desire from a Buddhist perspective. I will show the path of wisdom to free oneself from attachment. Listeners will notice that this is neither a superficial condemnation nor a moral lecture, but a gentle gaze observing human karma. Do we want to be loved, or do we want to be priced? How you answer this question will change the depth of your suffering. That is why I speak. Purchased love is not merely a phenomenon. It is the wavering of the soul, the battlefield of the heart. And now, more than ever, we need a path out of it. In today's world, people are searching for love, yet have developed a habit of measuring it by price. To be more precise, even the pursuit of love has somehow transformed into a kind of transaction. What is shown on social media are luxurious restaurants, brand name bags, and high-end hotel bedrooms. Behind the smiles in those images, the phrase "purchased love" quietly lingers. Is that life, which everyone envies, truly happy? The culture of sugar daddies hasn't taken root due to poverty or the collapse of morals. It stems from the fundamental human hunger for validation. This is especially noticeable among the younger generation, particularly Gen Z. Faced with low self-esteem and an overly competitive society, they seek environments where they can feel, "I am here," and "I am chosen," sometimes even justifying being purchased. It's not love, but a sad desire to prove their existence. There is a distorted dynamic on the men's side as well. They want to be recognized as valuable through their financial prowess, which is why they financially enclose young and attractive individuals. It's not about control, it's about fear. It's a resistance to losing value as they age. Society as a whole also turns a blind eye to this. Rather, it pretends not to see. Hidden behind the phrase, "as long as both parties are satisfied," are layers of abandoned ethics and loneliness. I want to ask this: is there truly peace of mind within this structure? From the moment love is initiated as a transaction, relationships are maintained through fear. What if I can't provide anymore and they leave? What if I'm no longer attractive and they abandon me? This is indeed suffering. To borrow Buddha's words, a world of the pain of seeking what cannot be obtained and the sorrow of parting from loved ones expands, wearing the face of everyday life. The battlefield called the modern world is a place where invisible desires and the need for approval collide. The sugar daddy culture symbolizes the deep confusion and attachment of those who stand on this battlefield. Now more than ever, we need the eyes to see through it. I am Gautama Buddha. Born into this world shrouded in the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death, I renounced the pleasures and luxuries of a palace to seek the path of truth. What I speak of is not merely a religion, it is the insight gained by penetrating the structure of human suffering. What I realized long ago is that at the root of all suffering lies craving, tanha, the desire, the longing, the attachment. When these cravings are unfulfilled, people suffer, and even when they are fulfilled, the fear of their loss brings suffering once again. Now, I encounter the culture of the sugar daddy. Therein lies a manifestation of craving, a thirst for money, a thirst for youth, a thirst for validation with dependencies forming under the guise of relationships. But fundamentally, there is a belief that, as I am not enough. Unable to love themselves, individuals can only verify their existence through someone else's gaze. I once said, all suffering is born from desire. Desire gives rise to attachment, and attachment creates a chain of suffering. The sweet system of the sugar daddy and those who partake in it are all caught in the middle of that chain. And another point, I taught about impermanence. Everything changes, youth, allure, wealth, and even relationships. Yet people try to perceive them as eternal. They convince themselves, this relationship will last, he will keep loving me. As long as this support continues, I have worth. But what is reality? Youth fades, wealth dries up, hearts drift apart. The more you cling, the greater the suffering grows. What I want to convey is compassion for those who have lost their way. It is natural to seek, but one must not become ensnared. True freedom of the heart lies not in acquiring, but in letting go. This sweet trap of the modern world is no different from the indulgences of ancient kings. But I abandoned such luxuries, spoke with beggars by the roadside, and discovered only one thing, that suffering resides in the mind's interpretation and structure, and it can be changed. I believe that this philosophy resonates more than ever in today's world. To pierce a hole in the soul swallowed by the sea of desire. If I were living in this era, I would say this: love is not something given, but something that emerges. In today's sugar daddy culture, love is mistakenly perceived as something given. Relationships that arise in exchange for money are, in a sense, conditional intimacy. They may appear to resemble love, but their essence is entirely different. In my teachings, there is a concept known as dependent origination. All phenomena arise from causes and conditions. Relationships with sugar daddies are also formed by a certain type of causal connection. Economic insecurity, a lack of self-esteem, and a thirst for validation. These become conditions that give rise to purchased love. However, when these conditions change, the outcomes will also change. If the connection is rooted in compassion rather than driven by craving, suffering does not occur. There once was a woman I met who could not trust her family or society and viewed all relationships as transactions. She said, "One can only feel the meaning of existence by receiving." I replied, "Then why not try being on the giving side?" At first, she laughed, but over time she gradually awakened to the joy of giving rather than receiving. Here lies a truth. It is when a person becomes a giving being that they first experience freedom. In the modern world, love circulates as a commodity price. This marks the death of love. Love, in its true form, is unconditional and arises only from a pure heart without expecting anything in return. It is something that wells up from within, not something given. And I see it this way. People involved in the sugar daddy culture are all afraid. Afraid of abandonment, of being worthless, of not being loved. That fear manifests as craving and takes the form of dependency. So I ask this, does your love stem from fear, or does it come from understanding? The teachings of the Buddha do not prohibit anything. They merely encourage us to see the structure. If one can see, one can choose. If one can choose, one can change. The first step is to notice the contract of desire and to gaze upon the self-doubt that lies behind it. True freedom can only begin from there. Let me give you a question. If love can be measured by a price, can it really be called love? This question, which seems simple, harbors a deep contradiction. The sugar daddy culture exists because there is consent. Many people today say there's no problem because both parties agree. But I would say, agreement is not necessarily understanding. Sugar babies express that being supported makes them feel valued. Sugar daddies say they gain self-esteem by connecting with youth. Both are trying to have their lacking parts supplemented by the other. This is merely a transaction between unfulfilled individuals. But here arises a contradiction. Can people truly be fulfilled solely by others? If the other person leaves and the perceived value also vanishes, then where was the love? I have said, all suffering begins with craving. And the essence of craving is the illusion that something is missing from oneself. The dilemma lies here. Do you cling to the temporary relief gained by fulfilling desires? Or do you have the courage to reassess the hole in your heart you believe you have? Which will you choose? The former path is easy. In the world of transactions, as long as the conditions are met, a semblance of love is attainable. But it always accompanies fear and dependency. The latter path is steep. You must confront your heart and ask, what am I afraid of? Why do I view love as something to acquire? This question is also part of your own story. Will you live a life where you believe in love only when given value by someone else? Or will you become a person who can sow the seeds of love without needing to be given value? So ask your heart, is your love thirst or awareness? And which path are you intending to choose from now on? Human civilization is accelerating due to technology. Strangely, the emptiness of the heart is expanding at the same rate. Matching apps, online salons, and contractual relationship platforms. The technology supporting sugar daddy culture has now achieved the optimization of desire through algorithm refinement. But I ask, does it also optimize the happiness of the heart? Quite the opposite. Algorithms only select compatibility that is an extension of desire. In this culture where love is pursued as a result, people have begun to call meeting investment and breaking up cutting losses. This is a society where the word love has become mere decoration. I recall that in the past in India, love, sex, and religion were all managed within clear hierarchies and systems. Yet, my response to that rigor was clear. No system guarantees freedom of the heart. Today's freedom is measured by the number of choices, but true freedom also lies in the courage not to choose. In an era when AI can design the ideal partner, do you still believe in relationships that transcend conditions? In the future, emotion-sharing devices and contractual cohabitation AI might emerge. Partners who faithfully fulfill desires, who don't complain or age. Yes, existence akin to an unbreakable sugar baby might become reality. Yet I declare, suffering will not disappear. It will root itself more quietly and deeply. This is because it is ingrained in the human structure of craving. No matter how advanced technology becomes, the thirst of the heart cannot be quenched with tools. Thirst is intensified through tools. So, what do ancient philosophies have to offer this future? The answer is this: begin with seeing. Observe what you are dependent on, what you are escaping from, and what you fear. Just watch the movements of the heart. To ensure that the advancement of technology does not lead to the regression of the human interior, we must build bridges to the future with wisdom, not just knowledge. Does the institution of sugar daddies have a future? To me, it's merely a formality. The real question is whether you can evolve with this craving. In the silence, everything was there. I was sitting beneath the Bodhi tree, seeking nothing, rejecting nothing, simply existing in the now. In that moment, my heart spoke. Desires exist because they are unfulfilled. Fulfilled desires bring the next hunger. Love for sale. That phrase carries a certain sweetness and sadness. Like a single flower, it blooms beautifully and fragrantly for a brief moment, only to wither quietly. Knowing this fate, people gamble everything for that fleeting sweetness. That is proof it is not true love. True love does not aim to bloom. Whether it blooms or withers, it does not blame its state. It simply is, embracing both light and shadow. I have seen many truths in what is unspoken. Some things can only be seen in silence. He needs me. If this relationship lasts, I have worth. I'd rather pander than be left. These are all soundless cries, pleas of the soul seeking acknowledgement of its existence. But love does not exist because it is acknowledged. Existence itself is love. You were not bought by someone. It was you who saw love as something with a price tag. Change that perspective, and the world will change too. The wind blows, the leaves sway. Sounds that belong to no one envelop the world. Within this there is no comparison or judgment. Simply being. That is awakening. Calm your heart. Leave behind your phone, notifications, likes, everything. Then gently ask your heart, what am I afraid of right now? Only in silence does the true answer come. And that answer is the first step toward freedom from craving. Now let me ask you this, will you simply listen to what has been said so far and leave it at that? Or are you prepared to change something within yourself? If a person truly wishes to attain freedom, they must first become aware of what impedes it. It's not others, it's not the circumstances, it's the chains named attachment, which lie within you. If you find yourself in a relationship of purchased love, or even if you're merely observing it, I urge you to ask yourself the following 4 questions. Through whose eyes am I evaluating myself right now? This question will reveal whether your value standards are dependent on external factors. When this relationship ends, how will I see myself? By picturing the future, this question exposes the depth of your dependency and anxiety. Do I want to be someone who is provided for, or do I want to be someone who gives? Is love something to be received, or does it flow from within? This is where your definition of love is questioned. If this relationship did not exist, how would I feel worthy? If the relationship has become your sole means of self-affirmation, it is already toxic. These 4 questions serve as a compass that charts the map of attachment in your heart. Once you realize where you are stuck and what you fear, you can take the next steps forward. The steps to translate this awareness into action are as follows. Reflect on whether you view relationships merely as transactions. Free relationships only flourish when they transcend profit and loss. Cultivate joy that you can fulfill on your own. Whether it's a hobby, learning, or quiet solitude, there exists value without control. Accept unattainable love as learning and transform letting go of the past. Experiences of suffering can turn into wisdom when you reassess them. Finally, I want to tell you this. Relationships are something to be built, not bought. The sugar daddy culture is merely a symptom of modern times, but it is also a mental ailment within you. Healing always begins with awareness. Starting from this moment, which life will you choose? An dependency-based relationship or a free and loving existence? The answer is already within you. There is nothing quite as soothing as the stillness after the wind has ceased. If something inside you stirs, then that's enough. That alone means the path has already opened. The love that is bought. In these words lies a gentle poison and a sweet sorrow. For some, such a relationship might seem like salvation, while for others, it may be merely an extension of quiet despair. But neither is wrong. All phenomena simply exist. They are neither good nor bad. If you become aware of suffering, thirst, or attachment, it becomes a teaching. I would say this: desiring to be loved is beautiful. However, when that desire turns into a bond on someone else, the love that was there transforms into fear. True love is about liberation. It neither binds nor encloses, neither demands nor expects. It merely observes and watches over. It resembles the kind of unconditional tenderness a mother offers her infant. In this age, such an approach might seem foolish. It's not efficient, nor does it shine on social media. But that is the nature of love without thirst. If through this script you've turned your attention even slightly to your own heart, this quiet change, invisible to others, is indeed altering the world. Change your heart and your actions will change. Change your actions and the world changes. This is a subtle revolution within the universe that is you, and it can begin at any moment, even now. Beyond the silence, there are no more questions. All that remains is the certainty of simply being. That alone becomes the final space that endures. To you who have walked this journey with me, I want to express my deepest gratitude. This journey was a conversation about thought, and at the same time, it was surely a conversation about yourself. The loneliness and anxiety hidden behind the words purchased love and the universal question of what is love, these are never someone else's issue. In some form or another, we all live with the desire to be recognized by someone. But I want to tell you this: you already have value just as you are. If these words resonate with you even slightly, it's a sign that your soul is beginning to remember its own light. Even when freed from attachment and released from relationships, it is still possible to connect with someone. In fact, I believe that is true connection. If this video has become a small trigger for you to review your own choices, then nothing more is needed. I will continue to converse with you across time. If you'd like, please also listen to the perspectives of other great minds. They too are sure to speak to you with deep respect. Suffering becomes a path the moment we realize it. Until we meet again, I hope your gaze has softened a little. stay well, and be free. Now, in conclusion, I want to share a moment with you that's like a blank space. What I've talked about in this video is not just about culture or phenomena. It's about the journey of how people seek others, lose themselves, and eventually return to their inner peace. What did you think? You might have felt an urge to judge those involved in sugar daddy culture, or perhaps you recognized similar desires or thirsts within yourself. Either way, it's not something to judge as good or bad. Just observe and continue to question. That's the only way to transform suffering into a path. The questions I raised in this script. Can love be measured by a price? Is your love a thirst or an awareness? If there is freedom to be found in giving, would it change how you live now? If any of these questions stayed with you, please share your thoughts in the comments. This dialogue isn't over. In fact, this is where the real beginning lies. Your voice might become a realization for someone else, and those words from someone might light a new spark within you. My name is Buddha, but this narrative transcends time and space, returning to your own inner voice. Lastly, I offer you this question. What is it that you truly wish to give? Until we meet again, I'm always here in the silence of your being.